His most recent book is Facing the Dragon. Please welcome Robert Moore.
Well, I want to thank all of you for giving me this blessing of allowing me to speak to you this weekend. I don't want to take the time now to tell you how much of a blessing it's been to me, but I would just say that it has really been life-changing for me in a very positive way. And this invitation has been a catalyst for some deep spiritual work for me, and as the men would say, the deep shadow work for me. And I'll share more about that during the rest of our time. But I just want to say I'm very grateful to all of you, and I'm grateful to the women that are with us tonight, because what I'm going to be speaking to tonight is something that needs the presence of the women, because I'm going to be speaking to the larger global initiation challenges that we all face together. And so I want to thank all of you for being here and giving me this transformative opportunity personally. But for the rest of the time tonight, the way that I would propose that we proceed is that I want to speak after I read a poem and just give us some context. I'm going to speak for 45 minutes, and Alan is going to be Attila the timekeeper. And he is going to see to it that I get my mic is turned off at 45 minutes, because I want to keep that tight so that we have at least 45 minutes for us to dialogue, and everyone be able to stand and to make a comment or raise a question or raise an issue, so that we can all have a dialogical experience tonight. So that's the way I propose to proceed. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to begin with a poem that came to me synchronistically. I'm currently doing a trilogy of books I call the Dragon Trilogy. And the first volume is Facing the Dragon, Confronting Personal and Spiritual Grandiosity. The second volume, which I've just completed, and will go to press as soon as my graduate students help me clear out all my errors. And it's titled Understanding the Dragon, Archetypal Energies in Spirituality and Healing. And the third volume, which is Loving the Dragon, Living the Ecstatic Life. And it is currently being edited. And so somebody's trying to reach us. I hope it's the right spirits. So anyway, so this is a poem that will be in the frontispiece, and it came to me synchronistically. It is a poem of the great Rumi, the great Sufi poet, that I have been blessed by the ministry of Rumi, and many of the people in this room have been blessed. Raise your hand if you have been touched by Rumi. All right, wonderful. And I want to lift up the name of Robert Bly and Coleman Barks, and if you haven't heard their joint recitation and singing of Rumi, then I wish that for you to be something that happens soon. This Linda Cooper sent me this letter, and she said, I thought if you don't know this one that speaks to the dragon, you might find it of interest. I really should have had Doug von Kost read this. Your hunger, dragging your soul, has given birth to all idols. An idol of wood is a little like a garter stake. But an idol made of your own energy is closer to a dragon. To snap a wooden idol in two is extremely easy. But to break a dragon is a task almost beyond our power. Friend, if you are interested in the character of the hungry soul, read an account of the 7 gateposts of hell going down. Some cunning evasion flows out of that soul every second. And in every one of those seconds, 100 pharaohs and all of their armies can drown. The mind is an ocean, and so many beings are swimming there. Dimly known, half seen, and our body is a cup floating on the ocean. Soon it will fill and sink, and not even one bubble will show where it went down. The spirit is so near that you can't see it, but reach for it. Don't be a jar full of water whose rim is always dry. Don't be a rider who gallops all night and never sees the horse that is beneath him. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. If you have a sense for that poem, then I wouldn't have to give my remarks. They're probably redundant to this group anyway. I wanted to say a personal note. I check in with tonight with gratitude to all of you, with grief for the world that is rapidly ending and all the suffering in that world. And I check in with joy for the new world that is already dawning, and that you are all here a part of a new world that is already present in power. And that's what I think that the wisdom that came to the planners of this conference, they didn't get that from me. They got that from something very, very wise that is beyond every name. Because there's been a lot of synchronistic integration coming forth that no one planned. So I take that as a movement of the spirit with a capital S. My task tonight is I was given the task to speak about MKP Eldership in 2012, the challenge of a new consciousness in leaders during and after the apocalypse. And I want to say that what I'm focusing on this evening is equally for women elders. So we could just say for creative elders in this period. And I chose this title extremely carefully because there's a lot of ferment now about the shift that folks all over the world, from every tribe, from scientists to spiritual elders of every human spiritual tradition. If you look into this, and you can do that on the internet because it's all on the internet now, if you Google 2012 or 2013, it's all there. And there's so much of it. I'm just going to give you a little postage stamp summary of what's going on with it. But what you and I and all of us here need to know this weekend, is that we are a part of a great company. We are only a small part. I a leadership cadre part, but we are only a small part of a company of millions that are feeling the energy which was spoken of a few moments ago. And that energy is about the great shift. And I chose the title, A Challenge of New Consciousness in Elders and Leaders During and After the Apocalypse. I chose that very carefully because, my friends, we are already in the apocalypse. We're not waiting for the apocalypse. The apocalypse is upon us. We've been in it now for quite a while. And you can put your date on it, but we've been in the apocalypse. The word apocalypse, for those of you that you're not familiar with apocalyptic language, it means the unveiling. It means the revealing. It's like Rumi's book of poems that Coleman edited. It's an open secret. It's not a secret anymore. It is now open to the world. And so I consciously chose during and after the apocalypse. We have been in it and have been in it for a while. And I chose to say after the apocalypse because there are many people who are in such despair. If you've seen the movie 2012, there's so much despair about everything coming to an end in a tremendous, terrible holocaust of earthquake and fire and storm and all of the darkest visions of what is going to happen in 2012. And the challenge that I want us to think about, the real challenge for elders now of all kinds, not just us, but elders in every tribe, elders in every community, elders of science and elders of spirituality and elders of all the disciplinary tribes. The real challenge is to be visioning how we're going to live and create and build and occupy and inhabit the new world that is already aborning. Now, there are a lot of people that have a hard time. They're in such despair. Let's see the hands of those who are aware of how much despair is around us now. Okay. Well, there's a lot of science that shows that the despair is actually at the highest levels. I'm talking about empirical research. Despair is we know from research that despair, depression, and lack of hope has never been as high as it is now. So that's not just Robert Moore's opinion. There's a lot of science that's been letting us know about this. So it's a very, very difficult time right now. And but we're not here to be agents of despair. Our calling is to be a vanguard of hope, persons who embody hope, who embody a new reality. That reality is already something you're already experiencing. And if I have a chance to sit down with each one of you, maybe I will as the week goes on, but you would be able to tell me the signs. You know, you got to read the signs if you're serious. If you're serious, I have a friend that makes his judgments about who he'll be friends with who is really serious. And I don't think that would be a bad criteria for this group to think about. Because those in this time who are not serious, there's something weird about that. You know what I mean? Because if you're not serious now, the question I would have is, what will get you serious? What would it take to get you serious? You follow me? I'm deadly serious about that comment.
So in any case, we're in this apocalypse, and I have 4 short little postage stamp riffs. I usually get to speak in 3-hour segments. In my graduate school, I teach graduate students at various levels, and so I get this opportunity to just hold forth for 3 hours. And so my discipline tonight is to put all that into less than 45 minutes. So we're going to rock and roll here. So help me out here. Concentrate. Send me focused energy. Be in the part of yourself that is awake and serious. And let the part of you that's not awake and not serious kind of go aside, because we need to be awake, and you need to help me with this address. Because to the extent that you are awake and serious, then that's going to help me a lot. So that's my request of you. So I'm going to start with point 1, our present situation. You know, I have for several times in the last, God knows how many years, I have spoken to the MKP, trying to give some reflections on what time it is. I did that in 1995, and somebody said I did it in 2000 and what was that? 2001. Right. 2001, so I've done that several times, and my 69-year-old memory can't remember the exact dates of that sort of thing. But here I am back at it again, and I hope this is not the last time I get to do it. But what is the current situation? Well, very simply, there is a global spiritual crisis that is manifesting on all levels of systems. It's manifesting in spiritual systems. It's manifesting, well, you see it in the Roman Catholic Church. You see it in each tribe has got a problem with having a hard time being serious. And if you pay attention to spiritual groups, you will notice a deterioration in the level of commitment and capacity to really carry out their mission. And so it's a spiritual crisis. It is a psychological crisis. We have the evidence to know that I've just mentioned to you the epidemic of severe psychopathology we're seeing now. Anybody that's familiar with the research knows that it is terribly frightening. If you understand the epidemic of addiction, depression, and dysfunction, if you are aware, you got to be concerned about this. It is a crisis in communities, and that crisis manifests in people watching television so much that they've now withdrawn from their community organizations. How many of you are aware of that? You need to check that out, because people are watching 6 hours of television a day now. Watching 6 hours of television, although there's some very interesting television on, and I'll be the first to say that, and I like nothing better than having a drink and sitting and watching the green room comedy. I don't know whether you've run into that, but after I work, you've run into that. After I work a full day and it gets over at 9 o'clock, you know, if I don't have a drink and maybe watch a little comedy, I'm going to be insufferable. I'm already insufferable, right? And so I need to kind of kick back a little bit before I try to sleep. And so if you know these facts that I know, And we need, as elders, to be informed. Who else should be informed about these? Who should be more informed about these than elders in communities? Because it's our task as elders in communities to try to be, like was just said to us, we need to be the axis mundi. We need to be the center around which creative organization flows. And you cannot be a center of creative organization if you're not aware of what needs to be organized. If you're not aware of what chaos is assaulting the people in your world and in your community, then how are you going to be a center of creative organization in the face of that chaos? So elders, in my view, are enormously important. Women elders and male elders. And to be quite frank, in terms of this world that we are in now and that we are going to be dealing with for the foreseeable future, it's going to take a partnership between women and men to bring the kind of love and coherence and integration and integrity that we need in order to make our way creatively through the next phase. Well, I've said it now. That's my speech. But let me go on. So there's a tremendous crisis. That's the bad news. What's the good news? The good news is that never before in history has there been so many powerful resources for integration and increased effectiveness and coherence in communities and organizations. Are you aware of that? Those that are aware of that, raise your hand. Okay. I would like us in our leader bodies and in our elder bodies, male and female, to make sure we make people aware of this. Why? Because we are the ones who've got to be the hope bearers. Because there are a lot of despair bearers. There are a lot of advocates of despair. Television is full of them. What passes for journalism today is full of despair salesmen and saleswomen. And so we have to realize that there's a lot of money going into selling despair so they can sell goods. I'm sure I won't ask for a show of hands there, but I'm sure you're aware of that. Now, so we have to be bearers of hope. And so there's hopeful things. I'm just going to give you the shortest postage stamp statement about what they are. And during the weekend, I'll say more about it. But let me say this. There is this thing called system science. It is that which systems engineers, like my friend Creighton Laircy here from Augusta, Georgia, they cut their teeth on systems science and systems engineering. And what I'm happy to announce to you is that we now know in system science and among leaders who are drawing on system science, and there are many, that's good news that I want to share with you. Many of them, I know many of them. We are understanding now that let me give you an example. Every person in this room is a part of the system that is the Mankind Project or Parallel Women's Organization. Every one of you is a part of the system, and the fact that the women and the men are meeting together, we are a part of a masculine and feminine system together. And here is the good news, and I'll unpack it for any of you more in detail later, and I'm writing books and stuff like that on this now. But the good news is, it's scientifically proven, I can tell you, every system, every complex adaptive system Your personality is a complex adaptive system. This organization is a complex adaptive system. Your community is a complex adaptive system. The planet is a complex adaptive system. The multiverse are a grouping together of complex adaptive systems. The multiverse is organized according to systemic principles. So the very same thing that dominates whether or not you are living in a coherent, optimal way as a person, personally and spiritually, is the same principle that determines whether or not that, what's the name of that new Boeing aircraft?
Dreamliner.
The what?
Dreamliner.
The Dreamliner, we're going to hope when we're riding on that thing that the systems engineers have done a really good job, because it's a complex adaptive system. And you can know that there have been a lot of brilliant systems engineers working on getting that airplane right. And so how does this apply to you? Stay with me now. I'm going to be done shortly. Stay with me though. I need you to wake up and stay with me. Okay, so how does that apply? The good news? The good news is that every complex adaptive system can function better. No matter how dysfunctional a person is, they can function at a higher level. It's a scientific truth. No matter how neurotic you are, and no matter if you're a borderline personality disorder, a lot of people will tell you that you just need to be medicated. But if you're a borderline, you don't have to stay a borderline, according to systems engineering. You follow me? In mankind, I don't know what the women's organization, what problems you face, but since I happen to know in system science that what organizations are anxious? Which? All of them. All organizations carry a lot of anxiety. I know that. So every organization you're in carries a lot of anxiety. And your body carries a lot of anxiety just like mine. So anxiety always exists in systems. Now, that's the challenge. What is the positive thing? We now know that with consciousness, with increased consciousness and serious commitment, you can raise your level of what we know in systems. Here's the fancy word. This is the $500 word. I'm just going to give you the $500 word and then just tell you simply in Texan what it means. $500 word is coherence. That's the scientific word. Every system can become more coherent. What does that mean? Well, in ordinary language, it means it can become more beautiful. It can become more radiantly harmonious. It can have an expression of much more emotional joy. Every complex adaptive system can experience more joy. That's a scientific truth, not just some new age fantasy. So that should be seen by you as hopeful. And that means, here's the hope for the MKP. You know, we don't tend to be the best organized outfit in the world. Some people have said, you know, that MKP is a cult. And I say, no, you don't understand. If it was a cult, it would be a lot better organized. And, you know, that's funny. That's funny, but it's the truth. So if anybody ever says to you, no, the MKP is a cult, you say, well, I'm sorry. You know, if you'll study about cults, they tend to be really well organized. And so the litmus test proof that we're not a cult. And why not? Because there's not any one person in this outfit that's got all the power. If there was one tyrant that had all the power, we'd be a lot better organized. but we'd also be not being ourselves. It wouldn't be the MKP. So, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. So we're not a cult, but the good news is we can be a lot better organized without giving up our freedom. So, okay, that's point one. I'm going to make the other one shorter. Point two. There are a lot of toxins going on of despair. I've already referred to that, so I don't have to spend much time. There are a lot of toxins, and if we had time, well, in our discussion we can take time. But I'll just say, if I had more time, I would ask you to step up, and I would ask you to stand up and say, what are the toxins of despair that are poisoning our world now? And everybody in this room knows something about that, and you could stand and you could tell us what the toxin of despair is that you have seen and observed in your community. Is that right? Yeah. And maybe we'll have a chance to talk about that more. But you know what I'm talking about. They are everywhere, but I'm not in despair. I'm full of hope. I do have grief tonight, and I'll tell you tomorrow what my grief is for this world and all of the horrible genocidal horror that's manifested throughout our history. If you haven't read A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, how many of you have ever heard of that book, People's History of the United States? The rest of you have not. If you want to get you know what cosmetology is? Clean up, paint up, and fix up. Men are into it now, so you can't make fun of the ladies. There are a lot of men that, they got into cosmetology now too, so nobody can say anything about the ladies getting themselves fixed up. And so I'm not knocking cosmetology. I'm just saying that we don't want to be cleaning things up. Our job is to look clearly at things, and we want to be able to see clearly what the toxins are so we can be good elders. Because if we see clearly what the toxins are, they're leading everyone to go over the cliff of despair. In the spiritual traditions, that's called the abyss. The abyss into nothingness. The abyss of nihilism. Our world is very nihilistic now. I don't know whether you noticed that, but its nihilism is epidemic. That means not caring about anything, not feeling that anything is worth living for. That is epidemic now. That's the bad news. But we've got a lot of resources for hope, and I've already talked about some of those, so I won't spend any more time going into that. A lot of resources for hope. There are a lot of joyful people right now. I don't know whether you know them, but you know there's this thing called too small a sample. If you don't know a lot of joyful people, it's not because there aren't any, it's because your sample that you're studying is too small. You're sort of living in a little bit of a cul-de-sac of shall we say, unhappy spirits. Think about that. Take a little Buddhist spin on that. There are a lot of unhappy spirits, and they need to be released so they can experience joy too. All right. Finally, third, it's communities. I don't have to really preach to this group about the importance of community, do I? right? I mean, this I'm preaching to the choir, right?
Right.
But we're not the only ones that are realizing that in this next decade, even if things turn out optimally in this next decade, they are going to be very difficult. If anybody is telling you that we're not going to go through an ordeal in this next decade, you need to ask them what they've been smoking. I'm serious. Because if they think that we're not going to go through an incredible ordeal, probably within the year, then they're out of touch. And I won't take the time to go into all the details, but I can just tell you there's an economic crisis we're right in the middle of right now. And the smart money managers are in total denial about how bad it is. I want you to know, if your money manager of your retirement monies is telling you everything's going to be fine, you need to have a conversation with this person, because they've been smoking something. Because I'm in touch with the people on Wall Street that know, and it is not pretty. And so the best case scenario is that we get through the next few years without major dislocation. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that we're going to have an enormous, almost maybe unprecedented economic crisis. And so who needs to be ready for this if it happens? Now, I'm the first person to hope that it does not happen, because I've got to eat my retirement too. But I'm the first person to hope it doesn't happen, because what's happening in the cities around the United States right now? What's happening in the cities in Europe right now? Riots. Do you realize how close we are to having global rioting in this world? Anybody that's aware of that, raise your hand. Okay. Well, folks, I mean, let's be clear-eyed. It's time for us to get clear and not be in denial. It's time to let our denial go. And this is a time to let go of denial. Because if you're in denial, you don't have any business being an elder. It's that simple. Because an elder needs to be somebody who is plugged in and who can help the community deal with reality. And so I have confidence in these elders in the MKP. I have confidence that they have the right stuff. I have confidence that they are going to be able to help us be serious as in our intentional community, to be serious in our efforts to actually build a tighter, more loving, more mutually supportive community. Because it's not just in the MKP and not just in the women's organizations. It's here, they're here. All over the world now, more and more people are realizing that, how are we doing?
I gave you the first one.
All right, okay, he's doing this now.
No, not yet.
Okay, well, let me just finish. So we need to understand that it's time to really get serious, because we are going to have communities that look to us to help them stay sane during the next decade. And my friends, it's not going to be easy to stay sane during the next decade. That's the bad news. The good news is, if we turn up the spiritual heat, which spiritual heat? The same spiritual heat that has always been in spiritual traditions. Spiritual heat is the core of every spiritual tradition. That's the fire. So when we talk about tending your fire, turning up your heat, for you guys that like to fool with propane torches, tune that propane torch till it has a blue flame. Your spirituality has got to be like a laser. It's got to be that clear. It's got to be that focused. It's got to be like that blue flame on a propane torch. It's got to have a focused cone of power and heat. It's got to be a blue flame, not a yellow flame. And if you are able to tune your spiritual life, you will have the calmness, you will have the peace, you will have the love, you will have the joy, you will have the courage. What am I talking about here? Fruits of the Spirit, right? You will have the perseverance. You will have the stamina. Most important, you will have the energy. Because if you don't have energy, you will not have courage. If you do not have courage, you can know what's wrong and you will not have the capacity to move toward addressing what's wrong. So you got to have energy to feel your courage so you can act. You follow me? Are you with me? Effectively. So if you are tuning your inner realization, if you are realizing your inner self, you will have what you need to help these communities live creatively in the face of whatever we face. So that's my good news. And my last point was toward optimal eldership, but I think I've already addressed that.
5 minutes left.
5 minutes left? Okay, well then I've got one more. I've got number 4. You know, I think in 4s. Well, Carl Jung, he thought the world was organized quadrated. And I think he was right. Except for that 5th thing. Remember our ritual we did together in the opening? We talked about the 5th, the vertical axis. I love that movie, The 5th Element, with Bruce Willis, because the 5th element is your connection to the higher power, or what I call the great it. I call it the great it. Why? Because it cannot be named. Anybody who thinks they can name it adequately, somebody else is smoking. It's the Tao. It is the divine. It is that thing in you that knows it's God. I'll give you a longer ramble on that tomorrow. But let me tell you, it is in you. You are in it. What is your security? Your security is because you dwell in it. When are you going to dwell in it? You already dwell in it. What is remaining to happen? Somebody tell me. What remains to happen? If you're already dwelling in it, and you're already in the energy that fulfills everything you need, what is lacking?
Awareness and living. Realization and living.
Realization and living and awareness that that's true. And when is that true? It's already true. So when is the new world coming? It's already here. What needs to happen? Oh, we don't have to do anything. It's Taoism. We don't have to do a thing except wake up. So you don't have to do anything else. He must be crazy. I mean that literally. You do not have to do anything else. You have to get out of the way and let it show you what it has already done. Now that may strike you as being too good to be true. Well, I invite you to just meditate on that and see whether you think that's really true. So that is my lecture for tonight. And I've got 3 or 4 more lectures that I plan on giving. In fact, I had so many lectures, I was dreaming up that I was going to say here tonight, and I didn't know that I had only 45 minutes. So that's my 45 minutes, folks. So thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it. Now, if it's all right with you, I would like to just open it up. And let's see. Now, I want to have, we had 30 minutes? Okay, 30 minutes from right now. Let's open it up. And what I'd like to do is to have you make your comment or ask your questions or offer your observation. Keep it brief because we got a lot of people, but just
I'm a systems thinker, really been deeply involved in it since 1984 with Heinz von Huyster, Gregory Bateson, Alberto Maturana, Francisco Varela, Fernando Flores.
You've paid your dues.
I paid my dues.
Okay. Do you have a question?
I want to make a comment, an observation.
Go right ahead.
The observation is that hope is not going to work. Hope is a Christian virtue, and we're beyond hope. Thank God it's not serious. But hope is out of the question. What we need is in the systems world, we need to empower that individuated locus of control that's in the dynamic adaptive structure that we are to come back into existence here.
Thank you.
And be able to take the effective action in the permanent human concerns.
Thank you for that statement. Thank you for that statement. There, from certain points of view, he's totally correct. And, but from other points of view, such as sophisticated spiritual thinkers, there's more to hope than you seem to think. So, but thank you for your comment right here.
My sense is that our generation started out the way that the young people right now are occupying Wall Street.
Right.
And they applied a certain way of letting energy work. Now we're moving into eldership. We have different skills. We know more about the world than most of the world knows about itself. We have cagey ways of doing things that can work under the radar of how it's expected to be done. I mean, right now, there are government forces that have microwave trucks that are ready to microwave crowds. You can't see it on TV, all you see is people running. They're ready to be approached from a certain direction. We're elders. We have powers and connections that, as we begin to explore it with your help and focus, and other visionary elders, Bill Cost comes to mind, to find strengths that are new, to find strengths that are ancient, that still exists. The dragon energy is
Thank you,
there
sir.
for us to discover in a new way.
Totally agree.
Let us be there.
Let us be there. Let's leave this weekend without saying, let us be there. Let us say, we are there.
We are it.
We are it.
If not us, then who?
Well, and it's just important for us to get beyond this hope, because what he's saying is absolutely true. It's time to be it. It's over. The time is past when we should be working toward it. We have to embody it. He's right about that. Now, others' comments. Yes, back here.
My comment is, the kiss of death for me was what you said at the end, is when people say, that sounds too good to be true.
Right.
And it's the end.
Right.
Yet I know we are currently now. I know people who can do stuff right. We can get free energy in our world, and it's perfectly clean. And there's unlimited things like that are available right now that you don't know about, but they're already here right now.
Right.
So when you hear an idea or you hear a concept, please don't say it's too good to be true.
Right.
Because you are stopping it from happening and coming to
Thank you. Did you hear that? When you hear that energy, when that voice of negativity comes out of somebody's mouth, I would appreciate it if you would work on discerning the spirits. Because when that energy comes out of somebody's mouth, I would suggest to you, this is a little too esoteric for this talk, but I would suggest to you that that's not the voice of the true self speaking. That's not the voice of the true self speaking. So when you're hearing this despairing commentary coming out of someone's mouth, when you're hearing this, we can't make it out of somebody's mouth. Know this: there is someone in that person, the real, true person in there, that does not feel that way. Yes. Come up here and repeat it, because I want to answer.
Why don't you say that?
I want you to say it.
So, Robert, my question was, in an apparently very material world in which we live, sometime I might call it conservative, but rational.
Underline the word apparently.
I said it, yeah, and I meant it that way, as apparently. So in the rational world, in a material world, how do we open societally to it, to even identify that it is the truth?
Well, you really know how to throw these hard. You see that fastball coming at me then? That's a great question. It's a wonderful question. I wish I had a lot of time to address it. I will say this though: when I said apparently, there is a sample error here, because there are a lot of folks that don't live in that world that you're talking about. The quantum world is very widely known now, and it's getting more widely known. Those folks that are not aware of quantum theory are getting to be a smaller and smaller percentage of people in the world. So you need to be aware that folks are not stupid. Folks are on the internet. Teilhard de Chardin talked about the noosphere. That is to say, he predicted what has happened. He predicted that consciousness was going to sweep the planet. And he didn't know how it was going to happen, but it was the internet. And so the good news is that there are a lot more people that are already not living in that, quote, 19th century fixed, the fancy word is Helmholtzian scientific world, the world of Freud. The world of Freud was a locked box, and And it has dominated advertising, and the world of Freud has dominated. There's a study that came out recently about the extent to which Freud's reductionistic view of the psyche has dominated marketing. And so all of these television commercials and everything you're seeing, those have been engineered from a certain philosophical anthropology. Read that, a certain view of the human, which is very jaded. Now, these people gathered here together, we are not jaded about the possibility of the human, are we? No. No, you would not be here. I guarantee you, you would not be here if you were jaded about the possibility for the human. Your very presence is a witness to the possibilities of the human. And so, there's a lot of people whose view of science is incredibly outmoded. The cutting edge of science is already opening this to the community, and I'm a part of a group of people called the Human Energy Systems Alliance. You can Google the website on your internet. The HESA, the Human Energy Systems Alliance. It's a group of scientists and spiritual leaders, and we're working on this higher level integration of science and spirituality. We're not working on it, it's already happened. So the good news that you need to take home with you from this conference this week is the science we hope for is already here. In fact, it is here in such power that the scientists that are involved in this research, they're having to not share this research with the public now. Let me say yet. Can somebody tell me why they're not sharing it with the public yet? Somebody.
Not safe.
Huh? It's not safe because the science establishment is a little bit like the Vatican. I'm not kidding. So, I mean, the Vatican is there are a lot of creative people in the Vatican. I happen to know them. But there are a lot of people in the Vatican that don't want time to go on. The same thing is true of the science establishment. And so, when you discover a discovery that is too good to be true, you've got to wait until you've got so much proof that when you publish it, they cannot stand against it. And that is our actual situation now. So you need to understand that the science we hope for is already here.
And I love words, and what you've been sharing tonight is two words: rational and relational. And if you look at those two words, all the letters of the word rational are in the word relational. But the only two letters that are not in the word rational are the letters EL, which is in Hebrew, God, it. So for anything to happen, it has to be with it. And it's relational.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You just summed it all up. Thank you. Okay.
The problem that I guess I'm enduring right now is, your bibliographies are incredibly long and the names are all incredibly wonderful. But I'm really looking for what are the action steps of 1, 2, 3, 4 that I as a human being can do. I love all the theories And, I've worked in universities, and I think we're foundering on, right now with lack of leadership from those circles.
You sure are.
I think we're foundering from science, from exactly the reason you're saying. Kitty and I, my wife, and I just got back from twice a year we go to Pine Mountain Settlement School in Kentucky. It's in Harlan County. And we walk up to the top of Black Mountain and we look at where 600 mountains have been blown away.
Yeah.
Where we're absolutely raping our earth. But we don't look at it in our cities, and it's okay. So I guess what I'm looking for is not the theory or not what is there.
It's
What do we need to
work.
do? What do we need to do to either energize or support our communities in action steps? I can sit and talk about all the folks I've read in my lifetime and how impactful they are.
I mean, you can do intellectual bullshitting of the best.
That's exactly right. And I think to a certain extent, I've heard an awful lot of that tonight. So I'm really looking at where do we get action steps?
Well, it takes a bullshitter to
know.
know.
And I resemble that.
So you just saw my shadow here.
That's right.
Well, I want to say he's absolutely right, and I want to share something hopeful with you. That is, there are a lot smarter people than me that are involved right now in the MKP, planning just the concrete level interventions. There are trainings being developed now by really, really gifted people in the Mankind Project. Several trainings, and you will be glad to know, and I suspect you already know about a bunch of those, don't you? I thought so. And so there's reason to believe that the work he's asking for and demanding is already in process. Just to make things clear, there's nothing I like better than sitting around with a bunch of brilliant people, well, you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm curious.
So I was just thinking, I don't have a question, but more of a comment. I share this gentleman's initial upset with the talk, because I was experiencing that myself, because I wanted concrete answers. And then sort of like had an epiphany, right, like 2 minutes ago, when I said, no, it's not about concrete steps. It's really about a clearer change of individual consciousness. And it's really not about mapping out what we need to do A, B, and C. That's what we did in the 60s. It's much more about, that's the hard work is going inside and getting quiet and being clear, and then you'll know what you need to do, and trusting that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's more of that stuff about preparing that this gentleman was speaking to, because the time for detached institutional planning, is over. That's all over now. But we don't have to be detached to have effective institutional planning, friends. You can combine commitment, joyful presence, and effective leadership. They are not mutually exclusive. And that's what we have to be about. Somebody else had their hand up. Yes, right here.
You spoke to economics,
Yes.
and very eloquently. There are two other major forces that I think either you'll be addressing the next days or should be addressed. One is politics of many different colors.
Absolutely.
And the other is religions that are very powerful forces.
Thank you.
And then the other consideration I believe is extremely important are natural resources. Non-renewable natural resources, and one of which is so poorly distributed in the world is water.
Yep. Thank you for that comment. Did everybody hear his comment?
Yeah. Water.
His comment is very profound, and let's address things further tomorrow and the rest of the week. And I'm very I'm very concerned about what this is, and if you will remind me, I have a short memory at my age, but if you will remind me, we will certainly touch on all those things, because he's absolutely right. See, it's a multidimensional crisis situation, and there are a number of parameters of it, and he's just lifted up a lot of the other key parameters. There's a way, though, that all of these are that all of them are a part of empire. We have been colonized. It's not just Africa that's been colonized. We are being colonized by certain forces, certain power interests. And when you're colonized, that means they occupy you and then they farm you. And so, let me just give a quick list. The military-industrial complex, the Wall Street complex, the prison-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, the mental health-industrial complex, and you can add your own. The what? The agricultural industrial complex, the forces of domination in religion industrial complex. So it's all about empire. And you all know Darth Vader. Yeah, some people said he might have been vice president. But here's the deal. You know that movie, you need to go back and watch that, because there really is the empire striking back. In fact, the empire is not just struck back. The empire is pressing its advantage right now in the cleanup operation. Do you understand what I mean? And that is to say that we are very, very close to final cleanup. And, but I'm not in despair, friends. I mean, they won't be able to finish it. And why won't they be able to finish it?
Yeah.
Somebody, thank you. It hates empire. It hates empires. When it was in Jesus, it hated empires. When it was in Gautama Buddha, it hated empires. And I could go on and on and on and on. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to speak about young people.
Okay, please, you want to come up here?
Yeah, sure. I think young people really exhibit the crisis. And in Milwaukee, there's 70% unemployment of young black men between the ages of 18 and 25. And they actually have no interest in working. Many of them and their families, no one has ever worked. That's the one side of it. Then you have the young people who are graduated from college with massive debt and no potential for a job. And then you have young people who have done something very interesting. So young people are in a major crisis. They feel the despair. They look at this world, they say, there's nothing for me. There's no jobs, I can't buy a house, I can't have a family, I can't get married, I can't have children, I can't support anyone. I'm in Egypt. They're college graduates. In Libya, Tunisia, the most educated Arab country in the world, master's degrees. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people in their 20s with master's degrees, no jobs, cannot get married without a job, cannot have children, cannot have sex, because can't get married in Muslim countries. So they're denied the basic human things we all want. So something really interesting happened. And I just read about it. I just want to share this. This group called Anonymous and a bunch of other acronymal names that are not in my head, they were into like freeing up pornography sites from government control. These guys are computer wizards, and that's what they were doing, and they're getting fun out of that. But when the uprising started in the Middle East, the governments were shutting down the websites, they're shutting down the cell phones, they're shutting down all the ways of electronic communication that young people are into. And so, on an international basis, these young hackers shut down the government websites, opened up communication, and facilitated these revolts. And then it happened in Egypt. And now that's what's happening in the United States. Anonymous started the Occupy movement. They started it 2 months ago. They planned it. And these people are linked together. And what they do is they get a lot of people to attack, to send messages to the government websites that it shuts down. For fun, they do things like they ordered pizzas at all the Libyan embassies all over the world. You know, this is their fun stuff. But I think it's really important from an elder position to look at young people, because they are in crisis all over the world, and they are brilliant, they're adaptive. Talk about an adaptive integrated system. These young people have grown up with electronics and with computers. And for them, it's like nothing. They know things that we'll never know. And in ways, it's their world that's at risk. You know, I'm 60 years old, they're 18 and 20 years old. They have their life ahead of them, and they look at it and they go, it's a horror story unless they do something.
Tell us the good news.
And the good news is that they are doing something. They are acting, and right now the governments of the world have Interpol looking for these young people because they are a threat, because they have organized themselves to open the channels of communication that allow these actions to occur, these riots, these demonstrations, these civil actions. And I didn't know about this until 2 days ago. I read about it.
The empire doesn't like that.
No, the empire hates that. And some of these young people are in the dock, and they're in court, and they're facing jail terms and all of this. But it's not going away. And so I think it's important to realize that the young people are at the front, and they're taking action. And, you know, we need to be, in support, we need to learn.
But we need to be celebrating.
We need to be celebrating and to realize we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the ideas. We don't even have the skills or even the awareness that these young people who grew up in this society have. And
well, now
that's all.
Tell us your name again.
Robert Litzow.
Robert, thank you very much. He's spoken very important truth, and I would say that the counterpoint of the good news is there are many people that understand what's going on with these young people, and they are actually making common cause with them around the world. So he has just talked about a basis of huge concern for us, absolutely right, in every front. Terrorism is epidemic because of precisely the points he was making. And the good news is all these young people in the Mideast had an opportunity to become terrorists. They could have become terrorists, right? Nothing standing between, there were a lot of people that would be happy to give them a chance to blow us up, right? But these young people have not chosen to go that route. They have chosen to take a stand against empire. And they've chosen to take a stand against being colonialized by the forces of either the Catholic Vatican or the forces of the Muslim Vatican or the forces of any of these empire forces. So they are they're very radical, and they're very much in the liberation. So that's the good news. Everybody's tired. We've tired you out. I want to thank you again for, yes? Did you hear his question? What do we need to do in the way of recruitment? What do we need to do in the way of outreach? Well, let me just make one comment about that. If we all just become who we already are, and let that energy of the it shine through your eyes and through your body and through your energy, you won't need to worry about recruitment. People will be, this is the way people are. It's like radar. It's like young children, If you notice how if a child has not gotten much attention, they've got this little radar, and they can come in a room, and their radar is operating, And if there's somebody there that's got some love and some willingness to take an interest in them, that radar goes boom. And they're on your lap, right? You know that? You know that? Okay, the same thing operates in terms of who wants to get into the MKP. So, provide the energy they need by being it, and you will not have any recruitment problems anymore. You follow? Let's hear it from you. Come on.